On today's episode, I'll discuss whether Cole Eiserman is the best goal scorer in this year's draft, and I'll also get into Alex Vlasic's report card.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, just a quick reminder to everyone who's watching on YouTube to hit that like button. Go and comment down below as well as to your thoughts on Cole Eiserman and also what grade you would give Alex Vlasic for his performance this season. And make sure to subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube if you haven't done so already. I'm going to be having a lot of fun conversations here throughout the offseason leading up to this year's draft on all of the prospects available. I'll also be getting into some fun conversations about who the Blackhawks should be pursuing in free agency, all that good stuff that you're not going to want to miss out on. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And last but certainly not least, got to let you all know today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. Sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get $150 worth of bonus bets guaranteed. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. To open things up this morning, let's get into another 2024 NHL Draft Profile. I've already gone over Ivan Demidov, Artem Levshinov, and Caden Lindstrom. Make sure to go and check those shows out. If you haven't done so already, you can easily find them on the Locked On Blackhawks YouTube channel. Go click playlists, and there will be all of the 2024 NHL Draft Profiles easily available there for you. Today, though, I'm going to be talking about Cole Eiserman. We're going to be getting into his draft profile here today, and just 1 year ago, literally 365 days from today, Cole Eiserman was widely considered by most draft scouts and most analysts to be the biggest threat to Macklin Celebrini for the first overall selection in this year's draft. But as we know now, that's no longer the case for Eiserman. And in fact, some folks could see Eiserman slipping all the way out of the top 10. It doesn't even really feel like he's in the conversation for the Blackhawks at 2 and maybe not even for the Ducks at number 3, and has the possibility to slip a little bit further in this year's draft because he hasn't kind of taken that next step in his game. And also, there have just been a lot of guys who have had their draft stocks rise this year. They've taken advantage of their draft year and really capitalized on that. Whereas while Cole Eiserman was scoring goals as good as anyone, he wasn't really rounding out all parts of his game. But getting into Eiserman's 2024 NHL draft profile, I think he's a very polarizing player. He's a 6', 200-pound winger, does not play the center position, not someone who I see playing the center position at the NHL level. He also is one of the youngest players in this year's draft class. He won't turn 18 all the way until late August. He's actually only 2 weeks removed from being part of the 2025 NHL draft class. So a lot younger, a lot underdeveloped compared to, I mean, he's like a year younger basically than Ivan Demidov. So lots of runway still for Cole Eiserman being one of the youngest players in this year's draft class. But boy, did he have a big time year, particularly in terms of goal scoring. He tallied 89 points, 58 goals, and 31 assists in 57 total games for the United States Development Program this year. 58 goals in 57 games, over a goal per game margin. He also had 34 points, 25 goals, 9 assists in 24 USHL games, so over a goal per game plateau there as well, and has also been dominant for the red, white, and blue on the international scene. He had 12 goals and 8 assists in 7 U17 games, and then 11 points, 9 goals, and 2 assists in 7 games during the U18s this year. He's also the leading goal scorer in U.S. NTDP history. He surpassed Cole Caulfield in that mark, and he's 5th in points per game in draft year players out of the U.S. NTDP over the last 20 years. So all in all, he's got great goal scoring abilities. I think he's probably the best pure goal scorer in this draft class. The only one who's really up there in debate with him is Macklin Celebrini. And he is going to be playing at Boston University next year. Interestingly enough, that's, of course, a program us Blackhawks fans have gotten quite familiar with over the years. And who knows, could be even playing on that top line along with Ryan Green next year, which would be a lot of fun. But getting into the rankings here, it's really, really interesting to see where Cole Eiserman is now being ranked. As I mentioned earlier, going into this season, was number 2, number 3, or number 4 at the lowest on most folks' boards. But now we get him kind of all over the place, ranked 11th by Elite Prospects, 4th by Bob McKenzie, but that's an old ranking, 8th by Craig Button, 16th by Tony Ferrari, 9th by McKean's Hockey, 8th by Chris Peters, 7th by Daily Faceoffs, and 16th by Dobber Prospects. So a moment ago when I just talked about Cole Eiserman as probably the best goal scorer in this year's draft class, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening or watching this right now wondering, well, why the heck is he rated so low? And it's because, like I said, he didn't really take a step in other areas of his game this year like some folks had hoped, although the goal scoring absolutely was dominant. And as far as breaking down strengths and weaknesses, the biggest strength in Eiserman's game is all about the shooting, baby. He's an elite goal scorer. I think he already has an NHL caliber shot right away and has blow past you speed with that wrist shot. I mean, if you go and watch his highlights, he scores some unbelievable goals, and he can do it in all areas, which makes me think he is going to be a high-level scorer at the next level. He finds open areas and also creates space for himself really well. Like, he sees where defenders are. He recognizes when maybe they're paying more attention to the puck carrier or where the puck is opposed to him, and he slips into those little open spots, gives himself separation so his teammates can find him, and then he also lets it go off of his stick in a hurry, which I think is a really good quality that should translate to the NHL because defenders are obviously better at the next level. There's not as much open time and open space, but when Eiserman gets the puck, he lets go of it in a hurry. He also has a really strong one-timer from the right dot on the power play, scored a lot of goals that way for the United States Development Program, can walk into the offensive zone in a one-on-one and just go glove high past an opposing goaltender. He's just a high-level, high-octane scorer, and I also think he does a really good job of mixing up his shots. One thing I noticed about Ivan Demidov, who to me is still the pick for the Blackhawks at number 2, go and comment down below right now if you feel the same way or not, and let me know why. But Demidov really likes to pick glove high. It seems like when he's shooting, that's kind of his go-to zone. It's like the Alex Ovechkin, not at the same level, obviously, but the Ovi glove high clapper from the left circle. You know it's coming, but he still blows it past you. For Eiserman, he kind of mixes it up. He doesn't always go glove high. He can score low. You know, he'll go low blocker, low glove. He'll beat you 5-hole, can score on the backhand 5-hole, glove high, blocker high. Like he can score in all different ways and in all different spots. I think he's a little bit unpredictable, which along with his quick release and the power that he has on his shot is what really gives goaltending fits. So all in all, he's just a special scorer. Go and watch his highlights if you haven't done so already. Like I said, he scores some unbelievable goals. I also think there's been some criticism about his skating, and that's kind of a common thing for a lot of these forwards this year. I mean, Demidov, Caden Lindstrom, they don't have like elite skating abilities, or at least technique-wise. I think Demidov has really good edge work that makes him super phenomenal. They're all a little bit different here, and for Cole Eiserman, he doesn't have that like top-level speed, and there have been some people that are concerned about that. I actually do think he's a better skater personally than people give him credit for. I don't know. I just feel like he is going to be able to keep up with the modern-day game and also playing as a winger. I think he does a good job of drifting. I think when he has the puck, there are concerns that he's not going to be able to separate himself from opposing checkers, and that's why I don't think he's going to be much of a puck carrier. But as someone who tends to drift and find those open spots when he doesn't have the puck, I do think he's a good enough skater to still be able to do that at the next level. So I'm not as concerned about his skating as some others are. And like I said, think he can keep up at the modern day NHL pace and shoots already like an NHLer at 17 years old. The weaknesses, though, here for Cole Eiserman, it's kind of the rest. You know, there's concerns about the playmaking, and it's mostly because it seems like he's always wanting to call his own number. And I do think that could be a little bit refreshing to Blackhawks fans, considering, I mean, how many times this team just passes up on surefire scoring opportunities. Cole Eiserman's always looking to shoot. It's kind of similar to Connor Bedard. He wants to call his own number. Except Connor Bedard absolutely has better creativity, playmaking, offensive IQ, all that stuff. Cole Eiserman, he shows it from time to time, but there's not that consistency. He's capable of making good passes. We just don't see it on a game-to-game basis. And, sometimes he gets into the offensive zone. And while I understand he thinks he can score from anywhere, he takes inefficient shots that miss the net. It winds up leading to nothing. So there's just some desire for him to continue rounding out his playmaking abilities. And we really didn't see that this year. I mean, 9 assists in 24 USHL games against better quality opponents for the US NTDP. That's a little bit concerning. And also, like I said, he doesn't possess that top level speed, whereas I don't think he's going to create like a ton of breakaways for himself, odd man rushes. He's not going to blow past defenders. And playing as a winger, naturally, I don't think he's just going to be as big of a puck carrier. And centers are always more desired in the NHL, guys who play with the puck. That's why they always have more value than wings. So I do wonder if that's going to lead to Cole Eiserman sliding a little bit. And then also there's just lapses in defensive coverage and just in the overall effort consistency. It's kind of like his playmaking. He shows it from time to time, but then there are some games where it's a little absent. He does flybys from time to time, like not very engaged for a full 60-minute game, night in and night out. There are some concerns about his motor, his compete level. Just nothing really jumps off the screen or the charts or anything off the video about Cole Eiserman's game other than his goal scoring. So if the goal scoring doesn't transition to the NHL, which, by the way, I do think it's going to, then he's kind of toast because there isn't a whole lot there that NHL teams are going to have confidence in moving forward to the next level. And all in all, he just didn't take that leap in his game this year, despite the goal scoring still being absolutely breathless. So that's why Cole Eiserman is such a polarizing player in this year's draft. As far as my projection for him, I still see Cole Eiserman being a special goal scorer in the top 6 at the next level. I do think there's upside for him to be like a top line 40 goal scorer. But obviously, if that doesn't happen, you do have some worries about what you're kind of left with. And I just think all in all, compared to the guys I've broken down, Demidov, Levshinov, Caden Lindstrom, I think undoubtedly Cole Eiserman has a significantly lower floor than all 3 of those guys, but I do believe the goal scoring is going to translate, and I do think there's plenty of upside there. I think the upside is undeniable. Like, I think he's going to have a shot that will transition pretty well to the NHL level. Like, he's got that power. He's got that curl and drag wrister. He's got the one-timer. He gets it off of his stick in a hurry. He reads plays well. He finds those open lanes, makes himself available. One thing I didn't mention as well, he receives passes really well. He's not like a special stick handler. Like I said, his creativity and playmaking really isn't there. I don't think he's going to be a dominant puck carrier, but not only does he let the puck off of his stick in a hurry, he receives passes, I mean, as well as any 17, 18-year-old I've seen. They don't all have to be perfect going to Cole Eiserman. He still finds a way because this kid loves scoring goals and he doesn't want to shy himself away from any opportunities. So, there's a lot to like in his game, and maybe I'm crazy, but I see him as a consistent 25 to 30 goal scorer in the NHL with that 40 goal upside. I think he's going to be a top 8 pick in this year's draft. I do think someone's going to take a chance on him. It's not the craziest thing, though, to see him slipping out of the top 10 because, as I mentioned earlier, some guys have just had their draft stocks rise so high. Eiserman's hasn't done the same. He's a winger. There's not much to love other than the goal scoring. So I do think he is susceptible of falling out of the top 10. I just think because of his special goal scoring abilities, someone's going to take a risk on him in the top 10. As far as a long-term fit with the Blackhawks potentially, it would absolutely give them another unreal goal scorer along with Connor Bedard. It would be an unreal righty-lefty combo on the power play for years to come. Eiserman being a winger could also be a top-line guy alongside Connor Bedard. And I'll tell you what, with the amount of attention Connor Bedard got this year as a rookie and knowing he's only going to get more and more and more from the defense, having Cole Eiserman on that line, being a guy who's probably going to be open and have a lot of one-on-ones and find open space because of all the attention Connor Bedard is going to get, that's very interesting. And listen, Blackhawks fans, I don't think it's going to happen, but if Cole Eiserman falls out of that top 8, top 9, if I'm Kyle Davidson, I'm willing to take a risk because of the Blackhawks prospect pool that they have. And I think the upside is worth taking a chance. Like, if you come out of the first round without any right-handed defenseman, but that means you got Cole Eiserman and Ivan Demidov. I think that could be a special draft for the Blackhawks. I don't see him being in the mix at number 2. I think that would be a big reach for the Blackhawks. It's Demidov over Eiserman here any day of the week. But if he falls, I wouldn't be surprised to see Kyle Davidson picking up that phone, making calls, with a similar situation that happened to Oliver Moore, who was a USNTDP player from last year that ended up falling. I could see this happening to the Blackhawks again. And I'll tell you what, Blackhawks fans, I wouldn't hate it. I know there would be some folks upset that it could potentially cost the Blackhawks a right-handed defenseman in the first round. I think coming away with Demidov and Eiserman, there's too much upside there to pass up on that opportunity. So going to be really interested to see if Cole Eiserman winds up falling, if someone does take a chance on him in the top 8, and if not, could the Blackhawks and GM Kyle Davidson possibly make a move to go and get him? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think about that possibility? Would you be in favor of the Blackhawks trading up from number 20 to go and get Cole Eiserman if he falls out of the top 10 or something along those lines? Go and let me know. Also share your thoughts on Cole Eiserman as a prospect as a whole. Really, really interested to see what you all have to say about one of the most, if not the most, polarizing players in this year's draft. All right, there is Cole Eiserman's 2024 NHL Draft Profile, a really fun one to break down. Coming up in just a moment here, don't go anywhere, Blackhawks fans, because I'm about to get into another super fun segment, as I'll be diving into Alex Vlasic's 2023-2024 report card. But first, I need to talk to you all about Policy Genius. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million worth of coverage. And some options even offer same-day approvals and also help avoid unnecessary medical exams. And Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace that helps you save both time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting right here today. Go and talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the entire process step by step along your side, comparing quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to get you the best and the lowest price. And Policy Genius is a very trustworthy marketplace with over thousands of 5-star reviews on both Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. So head on over to policygenius.com and check life insurance off of your to-do list in no time. You can also go and simply click the link down in the description to get your free life insurance quotes today and to see how much that you could be saving. Again, that's policygenius.com/LockedOnNHL. Segment 2, time to get into another Blackhawks report card here in the offseason. I've already gone through notable Hawks players like Connor Bedard, Philip Kurashev, Kevin Korchinski, Seth Jones, and dished out grades for their performances this season. Go and check those episodes out if you haven't already as well. There's also a playlist on my YouTube channel where you can find all of the 2023-2024 report cards. Everything's timestamped in the description as well, so you don't got to waste time jumping through the episode. Hit the description, and you can jump right to where I start talking about each and every one of these players. But today, though, we're getting into 2022, not 2022. That would be crazy if this guy was 2022 years old. No, he's only 22 years old, and boy, does that put a smile on my face thinking about what a player this guy could be for years to come. Why am I doing that? 22-year-old defenseman Alex Vlasic. We're getting into his report card next on the show today. And yeah, what a year it was for Alex Vlasic. Obviously, what wasn't technically considered his rookie year, but I think us Blackhawks fans know it really felt like it was his rookie year in the NHL, and he absolutely thrived, knocked it out of the park, grand slam home run. It was amazing to watch Alex Vlasic develop right in front of our eyes. Utilized as a top 4 defenseman for basically all of the season, but the second half, last, 40, 50 games, mainly used on the top pairing along with Seth Jones, playing over 20 minutes per game on one of the worst teams in all of hockey, and put up very, very respectable numbers and analytics across the board. And I also thought not only did he establish himself as one of the premier young shutdown defensive defensemen in the NHL, and it's going to be fun to watch him only grow from here, but I also thought he did a really good job of taking that next step in his offensive game and his puck moving abilities and just having more confidence with the puck on his stick this year. I thought it was a notable jump from when we last saw Vlasic a few games in the year prior and 15 games at the end of the season after he signed on following his junior year from BU. His puck moving abilities, it's kind of night and day. I think he has much more to offer. Not as an offensive defenseman. I don't think that's ever going to be his breadbasket, if you will, but I do think he's more than capable of. Those were kind of concerns and maybe deficiencies earlier in his career. He's rounded that out really well. And also his speed, his skating, man. For a guy who's 6'6", 6'7", he moves pretty well out there. And you don't see that very often from the big boys. So I've been really happy with not only Vlasic establishing himself as a true defensive defenseman in this league and a darn good one at a young age, but also the way he's gone about kind of polishing off the rest of the areas that he needed to work on. And I think that's a pretty big benefit of spending a full year in Rockford, right? Getting that opportunity. Really hope to see the same things out of Ethan Del Mastro, who saw himself in similar situations and similar roles that Vlasic was in the year prior with Rockford. Hopefully he'll be able to make that transition nicely like we saw out of Vlasic this year. But yeah, just an excellent season out of Vlasic. This might be the easiest report card that I'm going through the entire year here, or entire offseason. Getting into the numbers for Vlasic, played in 76 games for the Blackhawks this year, the third most on the team, tallied 2 goals and 14 assists for 16 points. That was second among all Blackhawks defensemen, trailing only Seth Jones. 45 penalty minutes out of Vlasic, in my opinion, nothing to be really concerned about. I think a couple of those were due to fights and didn't really take a whole lot of bad penalties, which can be a symptom of a young defenseman from time to time. He didn't really do that all that often this year, I thought. Plus minus as well. Unbelievable that Alex Vlasic was -4 on this Blackhawks team, considering how terrible they were, the worst offensive team in the league, not a good defensive team either, facing 35, 40 shots per night. He was a -4, third best on this Blackhawks team. And I know it's probably not very fair of me to brush aside Connor Bedard, and I don't brush it aside. I say it's inflated because of their roles. While I do still recognize they have to get better on the defensive side of things, it's not the fairest thing in the world for me to hype up Alex Vlasic on the flip side of that when his plus minus is good. But I think when you dive into how this happened, it's remarkable that Alex Vlasic was able to put up a number like that one. Seth Jones in the last couple of years for the Blackhawks and basically the same role was like a -30, close to -40, some of the worst plus minuses in the NHL. So for Vlasic to do that as a 22-year-old, yeah, smashing. Shooting percentage, 2.8%, 71 shots on goal for Vlasic this year. That is one area where I would like to see him get a little bit better, continue to develop that shot, get a little bit more power on it. It honestly should have a little bit more sauce on it considering how big he is. So just consistently rounding that part of his game out. Also getting a little bit, getting shots on net. It's been a problem for the Blackhawks defensemen for years and years. They need to work on that as a whole from their blue line. I mentioned the role that Vlasic played, 21 minutes and 29 seconds of time on ice, second on the Blackhawks team. Also would have been second among all NHL rookies had he have been classified as one, trailing only Brock Faber, 1 second higher than Luke Hughes actually. Added in 148 blocks, which led the team, a willing PKer for this Hawk squad. Added in 56 hits, which I don't want to say I know Alex Vlasic is not going to be an overtly physical guy. That's just never who he's been, even as a bigger guy. I still would like to see him get a little bit more rugged. I mean, he had 20 fewer hits than Seth Jones did this year. Jones played in fewer games, and it's not like he's a big physical defenseman, but still a guy with size. You have to be able to throw it every now and then, especially as this Blackhawks team gets more and more competitive. I know I don't want to be talking about playoffs here, but when that time does come, you're going to want Alex Vlasic to be a little bit more physical than he is right here, right now. Another stat that really caught my eye and thought was super impressive was his takeaway to giveaway ratio. Alex Vlasic had 60 takeaways to 47 giveaways. And as I mentioned, for defensemen, guys who are carrying the puck, going up the ice a lot, they have giveaways. It's just something that's going to happen. But for Vlasic to have this many more takeaways than he had giveaways, considering the role that he was in again, playing over 20 minutes a night, having a big role and having to make passes very often and carrying the puck a lot too, which I thought he got better at this year, notably. I thought that's pretty standoutish and tells you just how good of a defender he is. And then the analytics, in terms of the Corsi, 42.7%. It's okay, but considering his role, I understand that. Was on the ice for 61 goals for to 81 against at even strength with a 90.6 on ice save percentage. And I think that number being the best of any Blackhawks report card I've gone through so far is a direct result of him and Seth being the best D pairing for the Hawks this year. As far as the good and the bad for Alex Vlasic, there's a lot of good. He's just turned into such an efficient defensive defenseman at getting the puck out of harm's way and really playing a simple game on the back end, good at puck retrievals, good first pass out of the defensive zone. He's added in the ability to skate the puck out of harm's way as well, made strides in that stretch pass of his. And just overall puck play, I thought really took a leap this year. Has that super long stick to go along with it and that super long reach to break up plays, opposing puck carriers trying to enter the offensive zone. He's really good at entry denials, and he also is a willing shot blocker. Took on a role as a penalty killer this year for the Hawks, which was awesome. Had to play a big-time role there, and just all in all was one of the only defensemen that you could trust on the team this season and flashed unreal upside for being only 22 years old with one full pro season under his belt. Big-time year out of Alex Vlasic. The bad? Not a ton, maybe just needs to get a little bit more mean, maybe needs to get a little bit more physical. This was something that Luke Richardson talked with Isaac Phillips about a couple of years ago. And I feel like it's probably time in Alex Vlasic's development, now having 2 full years of pro hockey under his belt, for Luke Richardson to have that conversation with him. He just needs to get a little bit more stronger and be better in front of the net still. The Blackhawks as a whole, even Vlasic and Jones were still capable of defensive zone lapses and allowing far too many easy goals right in front of their goaltender. If Vlasic gets stronger, a little bit meaner there, that's only going to help in those areas. So just continuing to round out everything as a 22-year-old, adding to the offensive game, getting better there more and more, getting more confident with the puck on his stick, and also eat some food, Alex Vlasic. You little skinny man. Go and eat some grub this offseason. Gain 10, 15, 20 pounds. Go and get a little bit stronger, a little bit meaner, and I would also like to see him continue to develop that shot of his, add more power to that, and work on getting more pucks on that. But as far as a grade, it's a pretty easy one for me. It's an A+ from Alex Vlasic. I've always had high hopes for him. I always imagined he'd be a top 4 defensive defenseman in the NHL. Didn't think it would happen this early. Didn't even know the upside would be this prevalent. Like, he's already established himself as a top pairing defenseman in the league. And as this Blackhawks team and D-core gets better and better, and I'm sure, knock on wood, Alex Vlasic is only going to get better and better. It's very, very intriguing to think about what a big piece he could be of that blue line moving forward. So A+ for me. 70% of the voters said A, 25% said B, 5% said C, which was a little bit puzzling. That honestly just might be the trolls out there. But make sure, if you're not already, go and follow Talkin' Hockey on X so you can vote on all of these polls when I post them. If you weren't able to vote on Vlasic's poll, go and drop what grade you would be giving him for his performance this season down in the comment section down below. Figure we're going to be seeing a lot of A's there, but go and let me know your full thoughts on Alex Vlasic's, what should have been his rookie season in the NHL. All right, there is Vlasic's 2023-2024 report card coming up in just a moment here. I know we're running a little bit long, but I do still have to talk about our baby boy, Connor Bedard, lighting it up at the 2024 IIHF World Championship. But first, I got to talk to you all about the fine folks over at FanDuel. It's playoff time, baby, in the NBA and the NHL, and baseball is also back in full swing. And FanDuel is your place to go and bet on every single game. And right now, new customers get $150 worth of bonus bets guaranteed. Yes, you heard me right. $150 win or lose if you're a new customer. And you can use these bonuses to bet on everything from slap shots throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs to home runs across all the great American ballparks, and even slam dunks on the way to the NBA championship, LOL. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Go and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. Again, that's FanDuel.com/lockedon to get $150 worth of bonus bets if you're a new customer. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just a reminder, if you're on YouTube right now, to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're someone who's tuning in through an audio platform, do me a favor, go and rate and review the show, preferably with a 5-star rating. Those always put a big smile on my face. And if you don't already subscribe to the YouTube channel, even if you prefer to listen to the podcast, help me out, throw me a subscribe, won't cost you anything. Also, make sure to go and check out the new Locked On Sports Today, because Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every single league. So make sure to go and check out Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. All right, segment 3. Before I wrap things up here, I do still want to get into some updates from the 2024 IIHF World Championship, which is more than underway at this point in time out in Czechia. Most teams have played 3 games at this point. Some teams have even played 4. And of course, we know there are several Blackhawks players taking part in this year's edition of the tournament and representing their country. So I did want to be sure to let you all know how things have been going for them individually and how all of their countries have been faring thus far. First, though, we got to talk about Connor Bedard, baby. He has been killing it. What a start he is off to at the IIHF World Championship. Through 3 games, tied for the leading goal scorer in the tournament with 5, 2-goal debut performance, added another 2 goals in the next game, 1 more for good measure. Canada has won all 3 of their opening games of the tournament, 5 goals, 1 assist for Bedsy, who, by the way, is no longer Bucket Bedsy, which brings a little bit of a tear to my eye, but also suggests that his health has been trending in the right direction. Not that that was unexpected or anything, but it's always nice to hear that, and nice to see that Connor Bedard is comfortable not having to wear the bucket any longer, even though he is an absolute weapon whenever that bad boy is on. But yeah, tied for the tournament, leading goals through 3 games for Mr. Connor Bedard. The Wonder Kid has been unbelievable, and I think it has served as a nice little reminder. If you give him NHL caliber line mates, not calling out Philip Kurashev, he was great this year, but a little bit more offensive-minded players, I think Connor Bedard's going to take that next step next season. Also, speaking of Philip Kurashev, he, of course, is playing for Switzerland here in the World Championship. This is his 4th appearance, actually, representing the Swiss. He has 2 assists through 3 games thus far. Interestingly enough, has been utilized in mostly a 4th-line role for Switzerland. I don't know if that's just because they want to space out their depth or what's really going on there, but hey, it's working for them. Switzerland is 3-0 so far in the tournament. They're actually playing here right now, actually, as I speak. So hopefully on their way to going 4-0 for Philip Kurashev's sake. Alex Vlasic, Seth Jones taking part for Team USA in this tournament. Unfortunately, not paired up together on the top pairing like we saw them do for the Blackhawks for a majority of this season. And as I referenced when previewing this tournament, I did get a feeling that Seth Jones was going to be paired back up with his longtime D partner, Zach Werenski, from their days together with the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's exactly what's been happening for the USA. Both of them rocking A's for the red, white, and blue as well. Jones has 3 assists in 3 games. Vlasic, 1 assist in 3 games, has mostly been playing on the third pairing with Matthew Kesselring and also Jeff Petrie. Don't forget Peter Mrazek playing for the host country, Czechia, in this year's tournament. I actually think he's made 2 starts, but only 1 was technically in the stat calculator. So these are the numbers I have for him as of right now. Got the win in his first start, I do know. Allowed 3 goals. Not a very good save percentage, under 800, but hey, got the job done for Czechia. And then Lukas Reichel finally did go and join Team Germany here at the World Championships after the Rockford Ice Hogs were unfortunately knocked out of the playoffs. Has been playing on their top line, was there today in their 8-1 win over Austria and tallied 2 assists in 2 games. So a good start for Reichel in his 3rd appearance here at the World Championship. As far as the standings go, Group A, really interesting at the top. Czechia, the host country, have 9 points, but they have played 4 games. So while they're at the top right now, probably going to be surpassed by either Canada, who has 8 points in 3 games and avoided a disaster against Austria, up 6-1 in the 3rd period. Austria responded for 5 consecutive goals to tie the game and force overtime, only for John Tavares to go and net the game winner 15 seconds into OT. That's why Canada has 8 points An overtime win only worth 2 points here in the World Championship. So they're 1 spot back, 1 point back of Czechia, but in 1 fewer game. So is Switzerland, 8 points in 3 games as well. As I referenced, they're undefeated, trying to stay unbeaten here in this afternoon game against Great Britain, I believe it is. So probably likely they're going to do that. But also Finland right behind them with 7 points in 3 games. One of the favorites to win the gold this year. Going to be interesting to see if they can find their way in, considering Switzerland and Czechia are off to really good starts. Group B is still up for grabs. Sweden undefeated through 3 games. They're leading the way with 9 points. Latvia, interestingly enough, in second right now with 7 points, but they've played 4 games. Germany's in third with 6 points, but they've also played 4 games. Slovakia is next up with 5 points through 3 games. And then it's the red, white, and blue. The United States have not gotten off to a very good start to this tournament. Only 4 points in 3 games with 1 win. They beat Germany 6-1. They lost their opener to Sweden, and they also lost to Slovakia in overtime in their most recent outing. So not a very good start for the United States when I considered it to be their most talented roster and their best run for the gold medal. And then France is still hanging alive with 4 points in 3 games as well. The regular tournament round robin runs through the 21st, and then we'll get into the quarterfinals. So a few Blackhawks off to some pretty good starts here. None more notable than Connor Bedard. Going to be fun to see what he can continue to do for Team Canada as they're still unbeaten thus far, and obviously going to be looking for their 3rd gold medal in the last 4 years. All right, going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. Again, thank you all for joining me on the show. Be sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free right now, wherever you may be listening to your podcast, and to subscribe to the Locked On Blackhawks YouTube channel. That way you can get the latest episode as soon as it becomes available each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can find me on X at Jack Bushman2. Be sure, though, to also go and check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey for all the latest Blackhawks news and updates. All right, until tomorrow's episode, everyone, enjoy the rest of your days. I'll see you next time on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.